In the headlines, the Ministry of Health discusses COVID-19 and Belize's response plan. The Government of Belize breaks ground for the upgrading of the coastal highway, and we wrap up our forensic series with a look at the Forensic Laboratory Unit. These stories and more on this week's edition of Belize Now. Thanks for joining us on this Friday, February 28, 2020. I am Erin Guzman. In early 2020, a new virus began spreading across headlines. Information is changing rapidly as scientists learn more about this new virus. Tonight, we'll take a closer look at the Ministry of Health's response plan to COVID-19.
On January 7, 2020, Chinese authorities identified a new type of coronavirus, now termed COVID-19, from a cluster of pneumonia cases in Wuhan City, Hubei Province in China. On January 30th, the Director General of the World Health Organization declared the outbreak of COVID-19 a public health emergency of international concern. We sat down with officials from the Ministry of Health to get an update on COVID-19 in a local context.
COVID-19 is another respiratory disease. It's an influenza-like disease. It comes from a family of coronavirus, which we already have under surveillance. It's just that this is a new coronavirus.
Health officials stress that while COVID-19 has created international panic, the main concern is the novelty of COVID-19 and not necessarily the severity of the virus.
What constitutes an illness of a public health emergency of international concern is when you start seeing that the illness in itself is starting to spread rapidly, or it's an unknown source, it's something new to us, and it starts moving because of travel, it starts affecting travel, it starts affecting trade. So when things like that comes out, it's not necessarily because an increase of fatalities, but it's more because it's affecting how travel and movement is happening.
The scary part of it is not knowing, but as more data is made available, the evidence mounts. And so far we know that COVID is not as fatal as other respiratory events.
Under the Epidemiology Unit in the Ministry of Health, surveillance officers monitor the trends of diseases within the country. Their three main functions are to detect, contain, and manage infectious diseases such as COVID-19. Surveillance officer Ms. Lorna Perez walks us through this process.
So in regards to COVID-19, once we hear a rumor, and our investigation will try to find out, when I am talking about validating, is it worth following up? So we have to look at our case definition, what is a person under investigation criteria, what criteria are there to warrant that investigation. So we look at the travel history, which is the most essential part now because it's not in country yet. Once we recommend, as I said, for you to be in isolation, and once you remain in isolation for those 14 days, we do daily monitoring, which means we check with you every day to see if you're not developing any fever, any cough, any shortness of breath, or any other respiratory problems that the person might start with. If during those 14 days nothing happens, you remain healthy, there is no problem, then the ministry gives you the all clear.
If a person does show symptoms, the process changes to ensure the well-being of the individual and the public.
First of all, we screen you to see if there is something else there. If we test you for any influenza and we do detect any influenza, and depending on the risk assessment that we do to see how much risk you have, then okay, we know this is just the influenza. We will monitor you still for the 14 days to see if any worsening of the symptoms happen, or if you get over that for 2-3 days and then you start again, then we go through the same process.
Recently, 2 medical laboratory technologists from the Central Medical Laboratory participated in a 2-day training in Mexico. Upon returning, these laboratory technologists passed on the knowledge they brought with them by conducting an in-house training at the Central Medical Laboratory. Belize now has the capacity to test for COVID-19 in country.
Before we had the capacity to screen for that particular, we had to, the option that was made available to us is for us to send our samples to CDC, and they would have tested it for us and then send it back to us. But now we already have the in-house capacity to do it, and so the test should be out fairly quickly. If we get a case of COVID among all the other viruses that are circulating, it's our ability to detect it. We know at this point it has to be imported, so we're tightening our grip on the importation part.
COVID-19 is evolving every day as scientists get a better understanding of the virus. New evidence suggests that people can carry the virus without showing any symptoms. What do these new developments mean for Belize?
The entire region of the Caribbean, Central America, is still low risk. We have had no confirmed cases. Like ours, all the areas in the region are still doing their heightened surveillance. They're screening for potential individuals under investigation. And to date, no confirmed cases. Like all other strains of influenza, it will affect us. It will eventually make its way here. We really can't say when, but like all other strains, it still has to come around this way. I guess for us right now, the preparatory phase is practically over. We do know what should have been in place, and at this point we're now responding to, in the event now that it comes, how readily we are. I mean, the region itself have revised their plans. We're now at the point that we have isolation areas in those places for severe cases. We're still managing cases that are mild if they should come. Of course, we're encouraging that those will be home care. But by home care, it means that we're still following up with them. We're still going to follow up and make sure that they're okay by phone call, visiting them. But the more severe cases, just like any influenza that can become complicated, needs to be admitted to the hospital, and that care is given at that point.
It's important to note that while COVID-19 will likely make its way to Belize, there are ways to prevent the spread of the virus.
There are certain things you cannot avoid, but there are certain things you could do to prevent. And one of those things, as I said, is hand hygiene. Just wash your hands as often as possible. If you're on the move and you have a hand sanitizer, an alcohol-based hand sanitizer is what is recommended, and do that. And if you have to cough or sneeze, do it in your sleeve or cover your mouth with a tissue or something and dispose of it adequately.
And finally, Ms. Perez makes one last plea to the public during these days of uncertainty.
We still want to recommend the respect of people's privacy. Before you spread anything or you repeat what you hear, find out first. It's very damaging to persons who undergo this stigma and the comments that people put on social media, because it's a human being you're dealing with. They already have the fear of, okay, what if I do develop symptoms? And again, as I said, not necessarily has to be a Chinese national. We have our own Belizean students, we have our own Belizean officials who, for purposes of their jobs or their studies, have to be out there, and they want to come home, they want to see their family. I would like to appeal then for, people look at the human side of things.
The official outlets for accurate updates are the Facebook pages of the Ministry of Health, the Office of the Director of Health Services, and the Government Press Office. For Belize Now, this is the Habet.
For more information, contact the Ministry of Health offices in Belmopan or at 0800 MOH Care between the hours of 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We'll have more stories after the break. Stay with us.
The Belize Billing Act was amended in 2017 to clarify and strengthen the relationship between the Central Billing Authority, the councils, and the municipal billing authorities. The implementation of the provisions of the reformed Belize Building Act has led to the establishment of a building unit in each municipality. This structure has been put in place to facilitate and make efficient the permitting process for building construction, demolition, and occupancy within each municipality. All 9 municipalities have an established and certified building unit, which is the sole building authority at the municipal level. Prospective applicants in the different municipalities who wish to apply shall submit their application to the building unit within their respective towns or cities. This message is brought to you by the Building Sector Reform Project at the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, the Central Building Authority, the Ministry of Local Government, and the Economic Development Council.
The Government of Belize, through the Ministry of Works, signed contracts for the upgrading of the coastal highway in December 2019. And on Monday, February 24th, GOB officially broke ground for the project. Our team was there for the momentous occasion. The week kicked off with much excitement in La Democracia Village, Belize District, as the Government of Belize finally broke ground for its 6th road project, which will see the upgrading of 36.2 miles of Belize's coastal highway. The project is funded by a US $36.6 million loan from the Caribbean Development Bank, CDB, a US $34 million grant from the Government of the United Kingdom through the CDB-administered United Kingdom Caribbean Infrastructure Fund, and a US $8.6 million contribution from the Government of Belize. The Minister of Works, Honorable Rene Montero, spoke of the much-anticipated project.
The upgrading of the 58 kilometers of the coastal highway, including the construction and rehabilitation of 10 bridges, will significantly improve the accessibility to the south of Belize. At the same time, it will provide an alternate and shorter route for motorists to link between northern Belize, Belize City, and South Belize, and more important, it will serve as a bridge between Belize and our neighboring countries of Central America. The road will include highway safety features, such as improved horizontal alignment based on design speed, bridge structures accommodating to highway traffic, and the provision of road shoulders for pedestrians. Additionally, road safety features included are road markings, traffic signs, guardrails, lighting at all bridges, and major junction improvements.
The coastal road traverses low-lying terrain and is affected by poor drainage. It is expected that during the rainy season, the risk of flooding for the road will increase as the region continues to endure the impacts of climate change. With this new climate reality, countries like Belize must now incorporate climate vulnerability assessments into its projects to ensure that road infrastructure is built to the highest standards as it relates to climate resilience.
We are seeing what would have been 1 in 100 year storms and hazard events occurring every other year now. So we have to ensure that the engineering designs into this project appropriately incorporate climate actions such that the road withstands whatever may come in the future.
It's really important here that we don't just build a road, but we build a road which is built to last, and we build a road which is mindful of the changing climatic conditions here in Belize. We know the road as it currently is often unpassable. It's often deluged by floodings during the rainy season. Hopefully, by building a road with this new all-weather surface, in the future, those kinds of obstacles which the people here face on a day-to-day basis will no longer be a feature of their travelling experience.
But there is more to these road projects than just infrastructural development. As in the case of the Coastal Road project, residents of La Democracia, Mullins River, Gales Point, and Hope Creek will benefit greatly from this improvement.
It's inevitably going to be boosting trade. Roads bring jobs, they bring business opportunities, and they also bring important access to services. And I think we heard from CEO Hyde about the implications of a road like this for school children in terms of being able to get to school more easily on a day-to-day basis.
You will see the improvement in the livelihoods of these people, that they will have access to jobs, that there will be business development, you will see tourism initiatives, the farms will begin to operate on a proper road infrastructure, and so you will see people being hired, you'll see people developing their own businesses. I am pretty certain from the aesthetic of Gales Point that it will eventually become a tourist destination, and so you can only see a boom, as I said, for the people along this area and straight into Gales Point and further to Mullins River and Hope Creek.
Most excited about this road project are the 1,700 residents who live along the highway. For many, it is a dream finally come true. Chairmen of the villages of La Democracia and Gales Point shared their excitement at the ceremony.
People believe that today was a day that they come to ask if they could come and get the application for getting unemployment. So I had to explain to them, no, today is just the opening. And so that shows you that everybody wants employment, they want the opportunity for employment. So it's something good coming for the village. Years came and years went by and the road never did materialize. And so now that the road, this is the opening now, so you can see that yes, now the road is coming. And so for me it's an excitement, to see that now the villagers will have a proper road passing through their village.
Yeah, we're awfully excited about this project just because we've always had to hitchhike and find all sorts of creative ways to get out of our village. Back there we've either had to fish, hunt, or farm and trade that for money. So now we might have some more opportunities, so we might actually get some growth back in our village of everybody that's had to move out. Ever since they took the bus away, they privatized the bus, it's been very difficult for people to live back there and work elsewhere. So we're going to have some work and it'll bring back families and revive that original village. It would be nice if Gales Point could become a travel destination for Belizeans like it used to be. On the holidays, they come back and we get together as Belizeans and have fun.
It will be 3 years before Belizeans see the completed road. Still, residents are thankful that the project will finally begin.
More jobs will come to our youth and more development to this village, and all thanks to the government of Belize.
The government, we thank very much for bring this project by us, Looking forward to benefit from it, mommy.
We have been waiting on this project for quite a while, and it's definitely here now, and it's a go. So we appreciate what the government is doing for us.
Thanks to the Prime Minister very much. We got this opportunity for this village right, so that this we need.
For Belize Now, I am Janelle Mencias. Last Friday, February 21st, Minister of State in the Ministry of National Security, Honorable Elodia Aragon Jr., joined Commissioner of Police Chester Williams and other senior members of the Belize Police Department for the inauguration of the newly renovated police substation in Guinea Grass Village. In addition to being the largest community in Orange Walk South, Guinea Grass is also central to the work of the police in the area. For this reason, Minister Aragon says the upgraded station is a welcomed and important addition.
I think it is very important because a community as large as this one requires the security forces to be readily available. So I feel very good about that. I know that this station has been closed for a while because of the ongoing renovations, etc. And of course, it all comes down to funding, finding the necessary resources to be able to prepare and have an adequate place for police officers to operate from. So today's renovation has now seen 2 new police officers being posted out here that will be working full-time out here in this community. And I think that is very, very important.
With the station now reopened, the officers will be able to do proactive policing with a view to see how they can prevent things from occurring within the village. And so we're pretty optimistic that the station will service the people of this community very well, and it will enhance the relationship between the police and the villagers.
Villagers will no longer need to venture to Orange Walk Town to file reports or access other services provided at the main district station, since the substation is equipped to provide all such services. Additionally, one of the key changes is the number of officers manning the station.
We're moving away from one-man station. We believe that having one police officer at any police station is not conducive to the officers' health and safety. And so we are now having a minimum of 2 police officers at every substation across the country. That way the officers will be able to support each other as they conduct their daily tasks.
Minister Aragon also noted that a new station will be built in Carmelita Village to service Orange Walk East. Works are expected to commence in March. Stay tuned for more stories after the break.
Construction of the Airport Link Road is near completion and promises exciting benefits to the country. The works feature 5 miles of climate-resilient road, construction of a world-class high-rise bridge over the Belize River, and 2 3-leg roundabouts. This Airport Link Road will create new, convenient access to the airport from the George Price Highway, saving commuters time and money. Additional benefits of the new road includes a reliable and prompt detour in the event of a disaster on or near the Hullover Bridge, creation of access to thousands of acres of land that can be used for housing, agriculture, or commercial purposes, and alleviation of some of the traffic congestions in the outskirts of Belize City. The road is being built by Cisco Construction, one of the leading road developers in the Caribbean. More for Belizeans, more for Belize. The Government of Belize, moving Belize forward.
Over the last month, we've been highlighting various departments within the National Forensic Science Service. Tonight, in our final part of the series, we feature the Forensic Laboratory Unit.
The National Forensic Science Service Laboratory is the only forensic laboratory in Belize which is responsible for the analysis of all evidence submitted by law enforcement for investigation and prosecution of criminal offenses. The Forensic Laboratory Unit staff consists of 13 persons and is headed directly by an assistant director. The Forensic Laboratory is made up of qualified and trained staff with a wealth of invaluable experience who uphold principles of objectivity, integrity, and scientific inquiry in the daily execution of their duties. The Assistant Director is Ebony Lyle Nicholas. She is responsible for all the sections of the lab. The staff in this unit is referred to as Forensic Analysts.
A Forensic Analyst, depending on what section you're in, analyzes evidence brought in from the law enforcement agencies in Belize. Anything that comes in the form of evidence from a case gets analyzed. To become a forensic analyst, you have to have a background in science, any one of the natural sciences. But even before that, you have to have a passion for the field of forensic science and understand what it entails. It is desired that you have a bachelor's degree in either one of the natural sciences that is applicable to the area you're wanting to work in.
Forensic evidence is an essential component of the criminal justice system and one that is at present underutilized in the courts. A goal of the forensic department is to change this. Forensic science is the application of science to law. The analytical work of the department is guided by what is set out in the laws of Belize, such as the National Forensic Science Service Act, Misuse of Drugs Act, Firearms Act, Motor Vehicles and Road Traffic Act, and Evidence Act, among others. The reports of analysis produced by the different sections of the laboratory are used by either the criminal or civil courts and can be accompanied by the analyst's testimony or can stand alone as prima facie evidence.
As an analyst on a daily basis, you have to bear in mind as soon as you step into the door that you're about to do something that can affect the general public. So all the work you do is produced for the justice system. Whatever you produce is to be used in the justice system. So as soon as you step into the door, you get the mindset that you have to be objective. You cannot be partial in any way.
One of the key persons at the laboratory is the exhibit manager, who is responsible for receiving items submitted from crime scenes by police or other law enforcement agencies, and upon request, releasing these exhibits for use in case file completion, further investigation, or court proceedings.
So he's the point person when it comes to receiving items of evidence from the police for analysis. After the exhibit manager gets it, then it is passed on to the forensic analyst. The forensic analyst will do analysis, give the reports back to the exhibit manager, and the exhibit manager then returns it to the police to be taken back to court.
There are 3 technical areas of specialization within the lab. These are the firearms section, also known as ballistics, the chemistry section, and the serology section. The firearms section is tasked with the analysis of all firearms or firearms-related material, which includes ammunition, bullets, cartridge cases, and bulletproof vests. Their capabilities include identification and classification of all the mentioned items, as well as functional testing of firearms, serial number restoration, trigger pull test, double casting, entry of fired components into the integrated ballistic identification system, and microscopic comparison. Additionally, this unit traces firearms through both E-Trace, firearms that have passed through the U.S., and I-Arms, Interpol's lost or stolen firearms database, and also has the ability to make case-to-case links through matching fired components to each other, or in more ideal cases, matching firearms to fired components. These can also be displayed using GIS data. All these things additionally assist in providing useful intelligence to the police department and other law enforcement agencies.
So we get the gun, we test fire it in our range, and then after we do all the analysis on it, we send it back to police. We do not store guns or firearms here after it's been analyzed.
When it comes to sending exhibits to the lab for testing, especially with firearms that are picked up at the scenes, or even the expended shells that the scenes of crime technician retrieve on the scene, we normally request the assistance of the lab in doing comparisons. Sometimes we might pick up a firearm and the expended shells, and we ask them to compare it to see if they have a match. Also, I know that the police department, every time a firearm is licensed, they fire the weapon, and the expended cartridge is kept and is sent to the lab for testing purposes. No, if in case this firearm is used in any shooting, well, you already have a sample of it.
The chemistry section is divided into 2 subsections, namely the analytical chemistry section and the toxicology section. The analytical chemistry subsection analyzes drugs of abuse in accordance with what is regulated in the laws of Belize, and the toxicology subsection at present does predominantly ethanol concentration analysis in biological matrices, that is blood, urine, and vitreous humor, either from living or deceased subjects, and also performs urine drug screening. As a part of their duties, the analysts of this section are also required by law to be present at drug destructions in order to scientifically verify the type of drug exhibits being destroyed. The analysts are also often required to work in close collaboration with the law enforcement agencies, including specialized police units and the Customs Department, to conduct on-site sampling procedures for large seizures of suspected drugs or to swab for the presence of drugs on boats, planes, and others. Serology is a section responsible for the analysis of body fluids, which include semen, saliva, and blood. The current capabilities of this section include physical analysis of items and testing for the presence of these fluids. After careful analysis and assessment, if the case is determined to have potential for useful DNA evidence, DNA analysis is outsourced to one of the approved reference laboratories abroad. At this time, there is a requirement in place for an analyst to accompany the exhibits abroad in order to hand-deliver and receive the exhibits to and from the reference laboratory so as to mitigate against the risk of evidence tampering. So who are considered the clients of the forensic laboratory?
The clients of the laboratory include the police department and specialized units of the police department, which include MIT, which is the Mobile Interdiction Team, the GSU, the Anti-Narcotics Unit. Anti-Narcotics Unit have a very close relationship with the chemistry section because they're, like I said, they are called out to go on scene with anti-narcotics a lot. Others, CIB is one of the main clients of the lab because they're the ones who do all the investigations behind these cases. So CIB from the police department is one of the main clients. There we have the prosecutors from both the DPP office and the police prosecutors at times that are clients of the lab. They can request specific analysis that may or may not have been done or request reanalysis of certain cases for their purposes. There is a customs department that we also do analysis for. There's the municipalities, which include the city councils, the town councils. For intoxicating liquors, we do analysis for them. There, the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard asks, sometimes the Coast Guard's role are both. They ask for testing of recruits or testing of their personnel, so urine drug testing. And they also request on-site or on-scene visits as well. The prison and the Belize Defense Force are also clients of the laboratory. The laboratory does not do private work, so an individual cannot come make a request for us to do urine drug testing from them on their own. We do not do paternity testing for clients because we have been requested that before. We do not do any kind of firearms work, anything from the general public. It has to come through one of these agencies that I've mentioned.
Due to the nature of the job, the employees of the forensic department are at risk of what is called vicarious trauma or reliving the exposure to a traumatic crime scene. The department is looking at ways to ensure the mental health and safety of the staff.
We've established a health and safety committee. We've tried to look at ways to promote the mental well-being, mental health of our staff, to try to promote not only physical activity, sessions that would reinvigorate them in terms of the work that they do at retreats, at social or planning work retreats, designing spaces for recreational activity. In the short-term future, we want to try to establish some partnerships with organizations or institutions, private companies that could provide stress relief sessions. We've engaged the Ministry of Health on a couple of occasions from their mental health section to be able to provide some educational and some therapeutic sessions for our staff.
The future plans of the laboratory include an expansion of the present scopes of analysis in the toxicology, firearms, and serology sections.
In the serology section, we're looking to expand in terms of identification through DNA analysis. It is not feasible at present for us to acquire a DNA lab as quick as possible. So in the interim, we will continue to outsource to reputable labs in the region that can provide reliable results. One of the most important plans that we have in our future is to establish a quality management system so that the work produced by every section in the laboratory is work that is in accordance or up to the standards of of ISO accreditation. The reason why this is so important is that ISO or accreditation allows for a report that is produced by the area that is accredited to be accepted anywhere in the world.
The building that the forensic department is located is about 13 years old, and the lab is outgrowing the space. If the new scopes of analyses are to be incorporated and the staff complement is to be increased, there will be a need for more space.
The Ministry of National Security for a few years now has been working actively on a loan agreement to try to procure a new office space, a new laboratory space that would also combine that morgue space that I mentioned earlier and also scenes of crime headquarters.
This expansion project is predicted to come to fruition within the next 3 to 5 years. It is some waiting, but in the meantime, the department continues to make the most of their resources in serving Belize. One of the guiding principles of the department is to promote changes within the justice system so as to reduce the reliance on eyewitness statements and instead increase the utilization of scientific evidence in order to reduce wrongful convictions and increase the conviction rate, with the ultimate impact of being a safer and juster society.
And that's it for this edition of Belize Now. If you want to provide feedback or send in your comments, please feel free to email us at info@pressoffice.gov.bz or visit our Facebook page and let us know what you think. We look forward to hearing from you. From all of us here, have a great week. Until next time.